She was a young woman, not much older than a girl. But when she entered her room, men stopped speaking. Not because she was the most beautiful. History got that wrong. It was something else, something sharper, something dangerous. She knew how to look at a man and make him feel seen, chosen, needed. And that was power. Her name was Cleopatra, a queen in a dying kingdom, surrounded by enemies, betrayed by her own blood. She had no army strong enough, no empire behind her. So she used the one weapon she had left, herself. And it worked. First came Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, a general, a conqueror. You should have seen through her. You didn't. Then came Mark Antony, a warrior, a legend, a man who feared nothing except losing her. Two men, two empires, both pulled into her world. Was it love? Was it manipulation? Or something far more complicated? Because every time she gave something, she took something back. Power, protection, control. And in the end, those same men would lose everything. For her. So what was she, really? A seductress? A survivor? Or a ruler who understood men better than they understood themselves? She wasn't born powerful. That's the part people forget. Before the men, before the legends, there was a girl inside a broken house. Her home was Egypt. But not the Egypt you imagine. Not glory. Not stability. This was a kingdom cracking from the inside. Gold on the walls. Fear in the air. Her father, a king in name, but a puppet to Roman Empire. Debts, deals, dependence. And inside the palace, family meant nothing. Brothers married sisters. Sisters betrayed brothers. Power was the only language spoken. And if you couldn't speak it, you didn't survive. She learned that early. Every smile could be a lie. Every ally, temporary. Even blood was negotiable. So she watched, listened, waited. Because she understood something most didn't. This wasn't a kingdom to inherit. It was a game to win. And the rules? There were none. One mistake, and you disappear. One wrong trust, and you're dead. So what do you do when you're born into a world like that? Do you stay kind and become a victim? Or do you become something else? Something colder, smarter, more dangerous? Because before she ever faced Rome, before she ever met the men who would change her life, she had already made a choice. Not to be safe, but to survive. At any cost. She made her choice, and the world answered immediately. Not with power, not with respect, but with exile. Cleopatra was pushed out of her own palace, not by strangers, by her own blood. A brother, a child king, with men behind him, whispering, guiding, deciding. And just like that, the queen became nothing. No throne, no army, no protection. Only desert. Hot days that burned the skin, cold nights that felt endless, silence that made you think too much. This is where most stories end, but hers begins here. Because exile does something to a person. It strips away illusion. It removes comfort. It asks a simple question. Who are you when everything is gone? She could have disappeared. Many did. Run far. Start over. Live quietly. But that was never her. She didn't leave Egypt. She stayed close. Watching. Waiting. Learning. Every rumor. Every movement inside the palace. Because she knew something others didn't. Power doesn't always live on the throne. Sometimes it waits outside the door. She had no army, so she built loyalty. She had no crown, so she built presence. She had no power, so she created it. Piece by piece, word by word, plan by plan. And in the distance, a new force was rising. Rome. Not just a city, not just an empire. A machine. And inside that machine, there was a man. Julius Caesar. Powerful, ambitious, and walking straight into Egypt. Most people saw danger. She saw opportunity. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. To win a game like this, you don't just need courage. You need to risk everything. Your pride, your safety, even your identity. Because the next move she would make wasn't just bold. It was dangerous. And if she was wrong, there would be no exile this time. Only the end. So what do you do when your only way back could destroy you? She chose the risk, and now she had to face the man. Cleopatra didn't walk into power. She walked into a room where power already lived. And his name was Julius Caesar. Older, battle-tested, a man who had seen betrayal and survived it. He didn't trust easily. He didn't lose control. Men like him don't get seduced. Or at least, that's what they believe. So she didn't come to him as a queen, not at first. She came as a surprise. Smuggled past guards, hidden inside a rolled carpet, carried into his private space, like contraband. Think about that. A fallen queen, risking everything to be seen. Because if he rejected her, she was finished. No army, no allies, no second chance. The carpet unrolled, and for a moment, time stopped. Not because of beauty, not because of drama, because of presence. She didn't beg, she didn't kneel. She stood, met his eyes, and spoke like she already belonged there. That was the moment. Not seduction as people imagine it. No music, no softness, just calculation wrapped in charm. She offered him something he wanted. Influence in Egypt, stability in chaos, a partner who understood power. And in return, she asked for everything. Her throne, her future, her life. Now here's the uncomfortable part. Was it manipulation? Of course it was. But was it also survival? Yes. Because in her world, those two things were the same. And Caesar, he saw it. He could have said no. He didn't. Because even the strongest men have something they want. And she knew how to find it. So he made his choice. And just like that, the exile was over. The queen was back. But nothing comes free. Because when you make a deal with power, power always asks for more. So what did she really win that night? A throne. Or a debt that would follow her forever. She got what she wanted. That's how it looks from the outside. A throne, protection, a place beside Julius Caesar. But power never comes alone. Cleopatra didn't just return as a queen. She returned tied to a man. And that changes everything. Because now, every decision had two sides. Egypt and Rome. Her people and his ambition. At first, it worked. They moved like partners, not equal, but close enough. Late nights, maps on the table, whispers about the future. Not just survival anymore. Expansion, legacy, something bigger. And then, a child. A son. Caesarean. Not just a baby, a symbol. A future where her blood and Rome's power became one. And for a moment, it almost felt real. Like maybe this wasn't a game. Maybe it was love. But here's the problem with love. When power is involved, it's never just love. Because in Rome, people were watching, whispering, questioning. Who is this foreign queen? Why does Caesar trust her? Is she a partner or a threat? And the more he gave her, the more dangerous she became. Not just to enemies, to him, to Rome itself. Because power doesn't like to share. It tolerates, it uses, but it doesn't share. So the tension grew. Quiet at first, then louder, until it was everywhere. And here's the truth she couldn't ignore. The same man who put her back on the throne could also take everything away. Not out of hate, but out of necessity. So what do you do when your greatest ally is also your greatest risk? Do you trust him? Or do you prepare for the moment he stops trusting you? She felt the shift before anyone said it out loud. The whispers, the distance, the way power started to turn. Cleopatra had seen this before. Alliances don't last, not in her world. And the man who once gave her everything was no longer there to protect it. So she did what she always did. She adapted. Because survival isn't loyalty. It's timing. And this time, the man was different. Mark Antony. Not like Julius Caesar. Less controlled, more human. A warrior, a leader, but also a man who felt deeply. And that changes the game. So she didn't repeat the past. She didn't arrive quietly. She arrived like a vision. A golden barge, perfume in the air, silk, music, light. Not just a queen, a goddess. Because she understood something simple. You don't win the same man the same way. He didn't just see her. He experienced her. And that moment, it wasn't just attraction. It was immersion. He stepped into her world. And once you do that, it's hard to leave. But here's where it gets complicated. Because this time, it wasn't just strategy. There was something real. Laughter, desire, attachment. The kind that makes you forget what you're supposed to protect. And he did. Rome started to feel far away. Duty started to feel optional. And the more he gave her, the more he drifted. Not just from power, from himself. Now ask yourself this. Was she controlling him? Or was he choosing her? Because sometimes the line disappears. And when it does, people don't make rational choices anymore. They make human ones. And human choices have consequences. So what happens when a man in charge of an empire starts choosing love over power? He chose her, and in doing that, he chose a side. Mark Antony didn't just fall in love. He stepped away from Rome. And Rome noticed. Quiet at first, then louder. Questions, doubts, accusations. Who is he now? A Roman leader? Or a man under her spell? Cleopatra had seen this coming. Because love can pull you close, but power pulls you apart. And now, they were standing on opposite sides of something bigger than both of them. Not a relationship. A war. Rome didn't see a couple. It saw a threat. A queen from the east. A general losing control. That's all it needed. So the lines were drawn. Ships prepared. Armies moved. The sea became a battlefield. And in the middle of it all, two people who once chose each other, now choosing again. Fight or survive. Win or escape. The battle came fast. Fire on water, smoke in the sky, chaos everywhere. And then a moment. A decision. She turned away. Her ships pulled back. And he followed. Not strategy, not logic. Choice. And that choice cost everything. Because wars aren't won by feelings. They're won by control. And in that moment, they lost both. So what was it in the end? Love that blinded them, or power that demanded too much. She saw the ending before it arrived. Cleopatra had lost the war, but not herself. That part still mattered, because what came next wasn't death. It was humiliation. Chains, parades, a queen turned into a symbol, displayed in Rome, reduced to a story told by her enemies. She understood that, and she refused it. Mark Antony was already gone. Not just defeated, gone. And for a moment, she was alone. No armies, no alliances, no more moves left. Except one. A quiet room, a final choice. Not driven by fear, but by control. Because if she couldn't rule her world anymore, she would still decide how it ended. The story says a serpent. Small, silent, final. And just like that, the queen was gone, but not erased. Because death can take a life, but it can't take a legend. So what did she really choose? An escape, or the last act of power she had left? She left the world on her own terms. That's what people remember about Cleopatra. Not the politics, not the strategy, just the story. A woman who seduced powerful men. But that version feels too simple. Because seduction doesn't build alliances. It doesn't hold a throne. Understanding does. She saw what others missed. Fear, desire, weakness. And she used it. Not just to win men, but to survive a world built against her. So what was she, really? A seductress, or a strategist who knew exactly how power works?